We are on day 264 of Ukraine's resistance. This is Mediacentru Ukraine. My name is Vasil Samokhvalov. We're starting our briefing. Our guest today is Oleksandr Senkevych, mayor of Mykolaiv. Sir, hello. Hello. Pan Alexandra, the question is very simple. How did the life of Mykolaiv change since the liberation of Kherson? And how will it change? The answer is very simple. Nothing's changed. How will it change? That's a different question. I would like to remind everyone that Mykolaiv has been shelled throughout the war. For the past 2 weeks, we've had a lower frequency of shellings. The last shelling we've had was about 3 days ago, and we had this instance when a 5-story building, all 5 stories collapsed, and 7 people died. Six bodies were found under rubble. 1 person died in a hospital from trauma they sustained. Another person was saved. Since then, we're hearing explosions at the city limit, but in the city itself there are no explosions. This has to do with the fact that we were shelled from Kherson, from S-300 complexes. I understand that they've moved those to the left bank, and they're setting up a new defense and new strike points. So far things are quiet. I don't think this will last until the nearest future, but I really hope it will last for a little bit at least. The most important thing that will change in the near future, we hope to launch to renew water supply. Already the utility workers are working to fix the damage to the water supply, the aqueduct. I have to mention that the water pipe that took the water from the river to Mykolaiv, there are 2 pipes, 1.4 meter in diameter. The length of this pipeline is 73 kilometers. This was damaged on April 12th on by a Russian explosion. They basically blew it up, and then we completely lost. The pipe became depressurized. We understood that there was a leak. As of today, this pipe is not in use. We've studied the entire length of the pipe, and we found 4 leaks, 4 damaged sections. In some places, it was blown up by explosives. In other places, it was either firing from tanks or artillery shells. But basically, and also the water collector has been damaged near Kherson, and so the task we have ahead of us is to liquidate this damage, and to basically renew water supply to the pipes of Mykolaiv. Right now we have salty water. We're getting water from southern Bugh, because this river is regulated. They have hydropower plants. They have bad flow. There's pressure from the sea, which is why the water in southern Bugh is salty or brackish, which is why. I mean, we know that 12 dolphins ended up in Mykolaiv in the past year, 2 of whom we did manage to save, but the rest went back to the sea. But because of the brackish water, we have a lot of breaches. It's grown by a factor of 20. The water utility company is having trouble liquidating them, so 8 more subcontractors are working on that. After the fixing of the damage of the water pipe, and after we renew the water supply, I imagine we'll be getting water. The water will not be fully purified. There will still be technical water for a while, for maybe another 6 months. We had been preparing for winter, and our job was to organize up to 150 points of potable water distribution points in various heated premises, in hospitals, in various utility institutions, so that people can show up and get potable water. We're continuing to do this, to provide these spots, these places with osmotic water purifiers and diesel generators. We will need these points to continue supplying potable water to the population, and in case of total blackout, this will be places where people can show up to get potable water to use in their everyday life. These are the changes we expect since the liberation of Kherson, and these are probably the most important, because Mykolaiv, since April 12th, Mykolaiv hasn't had potable water and its central water supply. To what extent do you expect people to return if the security situation improves? Again, as of today, I keep encouraging the residents of Mykolaiv not to return to Mykolaiv, primarily because there's no water, secondly because shelling is still possible. I would like to remind our listeners that shellings of Mykolaiv have been happening from the Kherson region, and the speed, it took about a minute. So even with the visual, if you have visual confirmation that that a missile has left, by the time we started the sirens, you would already get explosions. You'd get explosions, then a siren, and so it was really close. And so a lot of people are asking, can they return? I tell them, don't. You have to understand that we have to wait until the security situation improves, and then we will understand how feasible it is to return. And I will, of course, make that information available. I can add that Russians are continuing to act in a terrorist fashion. They're continuing to shell non-military objects. When they were talking about demilitarization and denazification, right now they're basically practicing genocide. They're killing civilians. They're killing simple Ukrainian civilians, and doing their best to tire people out, making them die of exposure, of hunger. So we're awaiting attacks on critical infrastructure and possibly critical infrastructure and I don't know, heating and other such objects. And also, with that in mind, we want to remind people not to come back to Mykolaiv so far. The regional administration has called on constructors to come back to the regions to rebuild the city. As for the city itself, to what extent can we expect construction companies as businesses to return? Because as of the last period, basically, the business life in Mykolaiv was completely stalled. Yes, it was absent. Right now, there are no major companies. Only a few small businesses and micro businesses are still operating. Basically, most of it is food and trade, and maybe some small service points like hairdressers, salons, and things like that. Again, the most important thing is not the companies, not the buildings, but the people who work there. And if the leaders of these companies can guarantee security to their workers, then they can come back. If they can't, well, then I think it's too early to launch. The euphoria from the liberation of Kherson is there, but let's wait and see in the nearest future how events will unfold militarily at the contact line, and then we will understand what to do next. As for reconstruction, we've decided so far not to reconstruct anything because, again, it can be simply a waste of money, waste of funds. Building something and then it'll be shelled. It doesn't make sense, to say the least. And so the businesses that can come back to the city, sure, let them come back. If they believe that it's dangerous, then that's also the right decision. Let them wait. Thank you very much for this information. We understand that the city has become a little bit safer, but we'll have to wait and see in terms of what's going to happen. With us was Oleksandr Senkevych, mayor of Mykolaiv. We will continue our work tomorrow. See